It's Friday, Feedback Friday, the feedbackiest day of the week. It's Feedback Friday. That felt like a lot after watching Has Been Hotel this week because there was so much Vox singing. And I deliberately sing talk for Feedback Friday. Old vaudeville deal. But after all the Vox singing in episode 5, it feels wrong. Vox needs to stop singing. Anyway, we're going to talk about knowing limits in multiple ways this Feedback Friday. I It was pretty funny. Some people may remember that one of the videos this week I mentioned like one guy pops up every time I mention Ayn Rand to shit on me, and he popped up to say I was straw manning the argument. So I banned him from the channel, and I stand by that. Wow, did that feel good? Like, Jesus Christ. Ayn Rand. Like, smell the fedora, right? And I'm not an Ayn Rand hater, but of all the things to like get obsessed about online, casual asides to Ayn Rand. I can't even think about Ayn Rand without thinking Left 4 Dead. You know, Francis, I hate this, I hate that, I hate Ayn Rand, that kind of thing. It's just, oh my God. But this comes down to not knowing limits. We are taught to fear limits as a society. And so we don't learn to recognize our limits because we think they're bad things. But if you want to not be an asshole, you do have to learn where your limits are and respect them so you can have impulse control and you're not that guy. And I decided to start here because one person left an absolutely wonderful comment on Manly Monday. And I had to delete a bunch of comments from Manly Monday this week because somebody started attacking other commenters in the comments. Well, went after one particular commenter, and I'm like, nope, my patience is just at low ebb for this shit right now. And I told them to stop. They didn't. They were spewing. They are gone. And I actually didn't just ban them from the channel. I actually just deleted the comments. Why? Just because it felt good. And you know, I consider this curation. I do not consider this gatekeeping because anybody can come in. You know, anybody can watch my video. You just lose your comment privileges if you're an asshole. And I don't consider this censorship because it's not about the viewpoint. It's about poor conduct towards other people. And I will enforce fucking civility. Because it's easy to say, oh, we need to talk to people that we disagree with. And to me, it's more we need to listen to people we disagree with. And this urge to just fucking shout down everyone over shit like Ayn Rand. Because I don't know why. I don't get the need to just over everything when it comes to this stuff. The entire reason I used to like talking about video games instead of like really serious news stuff is because there would be space for multiple opinions on something. No one was dying. And my opinions on that have so flipped because, I mean, I get called a baby killer over Gaza. At least it's for something important, you know? And I stand by going, hey, you know, Sudan existed. Yeah, thanks. It still does. But at least that's real. At least that's meaningful. People losing their shit over video games, I still maintain it's not about the games. One, it's about something in their lives that games soothe or were supposed to soothe, and when they don't, you get meltdown. But also, it's just people who I think, one, aren't used to being listened to, so they just kick and scream as a form of vent, not recognizing that, hey, people are actually listening to what you say here. But I do also think that people don't know their limits. They don't know how to recognize when they are being emotionally compromised by shit, and act accordingly. We don't teach people how to do that. In fact, in many ways, society as well as gaming, as one person said, well, multiple people in the comments about Tuesday video said that, you know, internet discourse, internet dialogue in general is bad. And because a lot of discussion about games happen on the internet, it also is bad. True. I do think there are certain things about gaming discourse that sort of, things tend to hit gaming before they hit the greater consciousness. I don't know if that's because gaming, like the Venn diagram of gaming and early adopters, is there's a lot of overlap there or something, but gaming seems to be a canary in the coal mine for that kind of stuff. And there is something like, okay, let me try it this way. Yes, correct. Greater internet discourse is not great. I can't do anything about that. I feel like I can do a little bit about discussions surrounding video games. And so I will. And this is sort of going around to this knowing your limits. The great comment for Monday's video, big preamble there, it was cast your defensive buff spells, in brackets defensive boundaries, at the beginning of a JRPG fight, the relationship, and know your stats, yours and your partner's limits. And I think that yours and your partner's limits comment is very apt, because I notice that we talk a lot about being heard and expressing ourselves, but again, we don't focus on listening. And that's not just for the other person. That is for yourself, the listening part. Because if you're not paying attention, you miss shit. And it's tough for people who are neurodivergent to get stuff like subtext or read too much into subtext. And it causes a lot of anxiety and panic and confusion. And that's why it's like, slow down. Don't just ignore details of something. If something's like, oh, that comes across as funny, listen to that. Because some people are very, very good at going, look, I'm going to stop you there. I don't like this. So, I'm just letting you know that so you can behave accordingly. Whereas other people have either self-trained or been trained by society to go, nothing bothers me. My haters are my motivators. Holy shit, do I hate that phrase. And being aware of other people's agitation is a very useful tool. And that's part of what I find so challenging about, discussions about video games is I'll make a video with the intention of, because if I watch someone's content or I read something and I'll go, that's interesting, agree with this stuff, I come at it from a different way. So when a comment just comes across as screaming opossum, it's like, I care that someone is in such acute distress. It isn't about the game. And somebody commented on Tuesday's video. I had to read this comment a few times. I'm not sure I entirely understand it. I might get it wrong. But the first thing was they asked, what's the matter if someone doesn't like or enjoy a game? And as I said, the experience they have on the game is their experience alone. And I I agree that there are certain games I just don't like. Or I played it when it wasn't where my head was at. And, you know, no game is for everybody. If somebody doesn't like a game, they don't like a game. You know? Similarly, if someone likes a game, because I can see people going, okay, give it a rest on your hating on this game. Other people are enjoying it. As opposed to somebody saying, oh, I like this game, and everybody rushes to shit on these comments. Every time I say Dragon Age the Veilguard is not what people claim it was, I get hate from people who didn't play the game. And that to me is the real issue. If someone is not required to play a game, and they can say why a game didn't interest them. Other people, if they play the game and don't like it, totally entitled to their opinion. Where I draw the line is when someone goes, it's a bad game, and they didn't play it. Because I'm going to hold you guys to the fact that I know some of you were on the Pro Gamergate side, and you knocked the like feminist frequency type feminists for criticizing games that they clearly hadn't played. So I'm going to check you, and I'm going to hold you to your own standards, because as another person said, that certain things are communicated in a game via mechanics, and we tend to talk about video games like people who have film degrees, and I can't stand that. And so something may look really boring to play. But, I mean, there are certain games, like, I would probably never stream playing Cuphead. I streamed a bit of Silksong, but, you know, I don't think it's terribly interesting to watch someone die again and again and again and again. Maybe I'm wrong there, but I want to consider that, you know, playing Trails in the Sky, I kind of understand that people who have played the game want to see people experiencing these moments for the first time, and it's a sharing thing. That I kind of get. The just watching somebody die again and again and again, maybe there's an audience for that, I don't know. But I don't find it very interesting. So I pick the games I play kind of so that either one, people get on Twitch, I mean, people get a sense of a game, and I'll talk about what it's like to play. I'll talk about the mechanics. So at least it's not, look, here's some cutscenes that are woke. I find that so uninteresting. So, sort of a mechanical examination so people can get another view of things. Or that fun kind of, yeah, I now understand the sort of Troyals hype. You could still kind of see it a little bit. Here I got this one piece of hair that dried funny. It's lying down right now. But there's another one here sticking up. And I saw that, I was like, oh, I have Estelle hair. And I mean, that to me is an absolutely beautiful game when something that would normally make you self-conscious becomes like, okay, this is cool, I'm like Estelle. It's not that I have this funny sticky uppy piece of hair. I think they call it antenna hair in the game at some point. But it's like, oh, I have Estelle hair. It's cool. And I mean, I think that I've said quite a bit. People have to be able to not like games and let people like games they like. They also have to be able, if you don't like a game, let people like it. And that was really the problem with the postmodern theory, hot take, feminist essay that had no real rigor in terms of theoretical analysis. It was just, I don't like this, therefore it's bad. That was its failing. It focused on the presence or absence of a particular kind of content, not the way it was handled. And I find it completely uncompelling when it's just clip, 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 clip of this trope and somehow it's bad. Like, no, that doesn't pass the sniff test. Saying something's overused does not mean the trope is inherently bad. And, you know, a game series like The Legend of Zelda, I mean, what is it? The latest game in the Hyrule Warriors format. I was just talking to this about somebody. Age of Imprisonment. There's an example of a game that is literally set in the time where Zelda is trapped. Is it a problem to spoil Tears of the Kingdom? I'm not sure, but it's when Zelda's trapped in the past. So you can argue that it's damsel in distress, but so fucking what? I mean, that is such a badass storyline of holy shit. She went back 10,000 years in the past, got stuck, turned into a dragon, and waited hardcore, right? Thank God I spoiler warning that, huh? But that it's so pedantic and reductive, and it's boring. And I'm tired of boring analysis of this shit. But of course, the boring stuff does best, because when you're not boring, when you have nuance, so like you're trying to have it both ways. You're this, you're that. And the ad hominems also bore the shit out of me. And when people just go, it's bad, or it's good, or it's racist, or it's sexist, then people can line up for or against and play shirts and skins and us versus them and just other the crap out of people they disagree with, dehumanize them so you can fling insults and dehumanization at each other. And how is this making anything better or more fun? It's not. Unless you're a sick fuck that likes to hurt people. And I don't believe that's true of most people. I think that there's this internal screaming that comes out for a lot of people. And going back to the original comment about what's the problem if somebody doesn't like the game, they also said using sales or the other thing is that even if the game was popular in the beginning, if the sales don't make the mark, that's it. If a player even enjoying playing the game, two things happen. The entire franchise becomes dormant for years. Alan Wake fan, I feel you. Or it becomes very low budget next time around. So to me, I can care less if a person is shitting on a game I enjoy or not. Just ignore them, because all our experiences are different, and accept their experience and move on. I don't see a reason to stew on it. Okay. Fair. Here's the thing. It's one thing for someone to just shit on a game you like. It's another thing for someone to comment on every social media account you have, calling you a horrible monster for liking a game that they don't like, and continuing to harass you, looking you up on Discord to also continue to harangue you about some gaming issue, and not respecting, I don't want to talk about this either at all or with you. That crosses a whole new threshold into it's not about the game anymore. Now it's about treating people decently. And the comment about sales is interesting because, yes, that is sort of, you know, I tend to like these games that do, okay, love the original Dragon Age Origins. That was the original Dragon Age Origins. There we go. But, you know, it was a very slow burn. And people tend to use Inquisition sales to prove it was a better game than Origins. And I patently disagree on the merits of the game. Dragon Age Origins felt like its own thing. Inquisition was a Skyrim ripoff in a lot of ways. And people didn't finish Inquisition. the hinterlands. Oh my God, getting out of the hinterlands. And Dragon Age Origins was this interesting story of, like, you're not quite a lone survivor, of the Grey Wardens being wiped out. And so some of the morally gray stuff that you can do in that character is like, how much power do you really have? You're stopping an existential threat in the form of an archdemon, but you're not, well, in a way, you're influencing, history by not having the Darkspawn, like, wipe everybody out. But in terms of the geopolitics, you're not changing a ton. I'm hesitant there because there's certain things in the game that, going into Orzammar and stuff like that, you can change status quo, but you're two people. Whereas in Inquisition, you are the leader of a religiously driven army. They are not the same. And somebody may find that fun. But when you think about the yikes that comes into, you do some shitty things as a rank and file soldier that has to take desperate measures to, like, stop the world from going to shit. That's a completely different thing than, okay, you're Joan of Arc. Now act like a fucking asshole. And not even Joan of Arc because, she got burned as a heretic. You're the Pope and a general in the same boat, and people will do whatever you say. The morally gray decisions there, I don't think were as well executed because of that. Because you have so much more social power, and the stakes are quite different. And Vilgard kind of went back to that hard scrabble against impossible odds. We're all kind of fuck-ups, but we're the best the world's got vibe. And I'm not saying it's a perfect game. Quite the opposite. I'm just saying in terms of the sum of its parts, I would put Vilgard above Inquisition. Probably behind Dragon Age 2. I am more of a Dragon Age 2 stan than most people. But this is a conversation we can have if somebody really liked Inquisition instead of going, bad take, or you're woke. Inquisition is the best Dragon Age because you're woke, right? No, that's not argument. I'm going to link you to an article and don't say what I agree with it is not an argument. That's lazy. That's letting somebody else do your thinking for you. Own your position. Why do you maintain Inquisition is better? If you like the fact that the party is a bunch of assholes and a lot of them are liars because you like games with more morally ambivalent people, say so. And have a debate. Defend your position. And I think that if that was a rule of conduct, the whole dialogue surrounding these things would get a lot better. Why do we care that Yasuke was or was not a historical samurai by name, when there are some people, some experts who say he was, and it's a work of fiction? Shouldn't that be enough, considering, the record on a lot of the pirates, the historical people, the pirates in, say, Assassin's Creed Black Flag? There are multiple accounts for some of them. Nobody complained that, Mary Read and Anne Bonny likely weren't traditionally hot that way. They probably didn't have all their teeth. It's funny what people, get sticklers for with historical accuracy. Never mind, we don't really know what happened to some of those pirates. We don't know how many of those stories grew in the telling. As long as there's some basis for it, that has always been the standard for an Assassin's Creed game. Assassin's Creed Mirage, they had to, and I think this is really cool, they had to cobble together a basic idea of what Baghdad looked like back then. Because the modern day location of Baghdad is not what it was when the city got raised and moved. And so all of that is speculative. And I think that's cool. You know, there isn't a temple to like a first civ all powerful god. I mean, Notre Dame Cathedral was set on the site of a temple of Jupiter historically, but that only has the most tenuous connection to the end of Assassin's Creed Unity. You know, like Benjamin Franklin and Thomas Jefferson, they probably didn't work for an Assassin's League, right? So that is the sort of thing where if somebody has to defend against these points, instead of going, the game is woke, it's woke, woke, all of a sudden we get better dialogue, right? And that's true of everything. And we do have to all be sort of guardians of quality. And we do have to expect better from ourselves. First and foremost, we are all responsible for our own conduct. But we do also have to behave like thinking people, not just emotional raw wounds. That person on the internet that you're attacking, that's not really the source of the pain you're fighting against if you're going, completely off your hinges for months over Assassin's Creed Shadows. Fun fucking game, by the way. I enjoyed the shit out of that game. And I'll land on this comment because it sort of makes my point. This was on The Problem with Normal, which people got oddly hostile to. Anyway, this gatekeeping versus censorship reminds me of a discussion I've once had with my family about the difference between steadfast and stubborn, and we agreed that the difference is whether or not we agree with the other person's position. And yeah, I think that the weaponization of certain terminologies, the very reductive, this thing is always bad, freedom always good, restrictions always bad. That's everybody involved in these discussions is supposed to be old enough to be beyond that. And, I have a pretty out there view of how much personal freedom is actually where I'm comfortable with. And, the whole balance of freedom versus safety. But even I recognize that there have to be some rules, some cutoff point. And that's why I think that it being, instead of just the opinion that becomes verboten, becomes heresy, I'm not a big fan of that. In fact, I am absolutely the opposite of a fan of that. I think that's wrong thinking. To me, if you can't defend your argument, next. And it doesn't even have to be a defense I agree with, as long as there's something. As long as you're not the fucking woke seagull. Wonk, 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 wonk. Like the fucking seagulls in Finding Nemo. Mine. Done. That is not, and I'm not saying that just because it annoys me. I'm saying that because that's not healthy for the people doing it. Those people are really at risk of being exploited by grifters. And I shouldn't give a fuck, but I do. Because I don't think they're bad people. I think they're hurt people. And I think there is hope for them. And if I think there's some structure where they can find out what they did wrong, learn. And I think it's very reasonable to just go, look, back up your argument. I mean, I was very fortunate to have teachers as early as, grade 9, geez, at least, probably sooner, who were like, back up your argument. Why do you think that? Instead of going, no, you're wrong. Back it up. Wow, did I get the rug pulled out from under me in university that way? I was spoiled in high school. College professors did not do. One did. One college professor, Arthur Haberman, did that. He was my fantasy literature prof. And like, look what I've stayed in, right? Transformative, because we disagreed on certain works, and it was defend it. Defend your position, defend your case. And that's what university is supposed to do. But it often doesn't. And I do think that that's puked out a lot of people into these gaming spaces because there's no real... I don't know how you really show that someone is qualified to talk about games. I mean, let's face it, gaming commentary is almost dead. Now it's all, the gaming websites write guides, which might not be a bad thing, the way the gaming website shit the bed. And a lot of the more mainstream stuff is all, they wait for a scandal to talk about something, or they just write a generic puff piece on a game that's coming out. Actual analysis of games and kind of how they work and whether they succeed or fail in what they do, it's really dormant. And I do think it's a unique form of storytelling that I don't think gets enough credit, because for some odd reason everybody looks up to film, which film is not the gold standard. So for every Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, there's that what the fuck Amazon Prime movie with John Cena and Idris Elba. I like both those actors, but like they're playing the president and the prime minister. It's all film. So I don't know. I don't know where we go, but at least I'm trying, right? At least I'm making a good faith effort to give people a place to discuss this. And if you're going to be a dipshit and just shitpost or, do that stupid, concern trolling, I am torn right now between just ignoring it and actually, if you make a habit of low quality comments, bye. I don't know. Because I do respect the people who regularly show up here and do think about their responses. And those are the people I want to actively reward. And I mean, maybe there's another way to do it. I'm open to suggestions, but I do really believe in any community, if you don't reward the good, just punishing the bad doesn't work. And I forgot to do the help support this channel thing again. It's been a very long week. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron, patreon.com/LeannaK, or buy a one-time Leanna Care session for someone who can use it but can't afford it. Coffee.com/LeannaK. Like and subscribe to this channel if you like this content. Thanks for watching and have a great weekend.